Hi friends, how are you? I hope you're having an absolutely marvelous day. Today's video will be on crystals, and do crystals really have an energy? Do crystals really have something unique about them? Well, I believe they absolutely do. And one of the things you want to think about that really is deep is that everything that makes microchips is a crystal, is silicon crystal. So without the ability of being able to program crystals and the crystals function, we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have all these electronic devices, we wouldn't be able to store all these things on memory the way that we do in our current society. So it's really interesting how just in today's time you can have a little microchip like this that can store up to 400 gigabytes or more. I have one of those in my phone. I'm pretty sure they have even more capacity now to store that much information. It's so amazing that a little piece of plastic with little crystal things could really have that much of a dramatic impact. And so when you look at how this can actually be integrated into your life, how can you utilize a crystal, I believe that when you have a crystal and you have a very specific intention towards that crystal, and you really basically program that crystal to hold that human emotion, to hold that thought, to hold that intention, and it becomes a really focused, intentional, and extended intention. And when you do have that, what happens is two things, I believe. Number one is that crystal already has those capacities. And so crystals already have that ability to be able to retain memory, just like water. So crystals are very much like water, or water are very much like crystals. So that's one thing that's really fascinating about water, that's very mysterious, is that water has a very specific print as far as where it's been. So water that's coming from a spring has a very specific print. If you have a glass of water and then you put an orange in it and you take the orange out, and then you have another glass of water and you put an apple and you take the apple out, the molecular structure of that water will actually be a very specific pattern in comparison. So they won't be the same thing, even though it looks the same from the outside, right, when you look at it with your eyes. But when you look at it through specific microscopes that give you that ability to see the molecular structures, you'll see that it has a very specific print. So water has that ability to retain memory, and just like crystals have that ability to retain memory. Now, another thing that happens that's really fascinating is understanding how the subconscious mind works. And when you have a specific thing that you do that triggers that belief in the subconscious mind, that specific thing just triggered, and therefore it becomes reality. So one of the things that I've done is I've studied the different energy arts around the world, where in the last 12 months or so I've gone through over 120 books that I figured out how to create my own audiobooks, and I got some videos on that. Highly recommend for you to check that out, because instead of reading with your eyes, you can just listen to them, and you could just listen to those books 24 hours a day if you can, and then you could just reprogram your subconscious mind and be able to just speed learn your way through the process and get this information a lot faster. So sometimes when you look this information up on YouTube, for the most part, actually, as far as the energy realm, it's really quite limited. It's really quite limited on Audible as well, and that's why you would probably resort to having this kind of practice to be able to create your own content that way more efficiently through that specific method. So going back to the subconscious mind, so I was trying to understand the different practices of which is the right thing. If the people that are using Reiki are using a specific crystal, but then you got the people that are using prana are using this specific method, and then the people that are using qigong are using this specific method, and then the people that are using the magnetism and the understanding of energy and quantum mechanics have their own thing. Like, what is the common denominator in all these things? And what I found is like playing music, and so playing music really becomes with understanding and feeling the rhythm. And I believe that when you do have that rhythm is when you actually have that embedded in your subconscious mind. And so when you play, for example, music with a saxophone, and you create that beautiful rhythm, and then you play the drums and you create that beautiful rhythm, it's the same type of effect as far as being able to program the subconscious mind with a specific button that you press, that when you press this button, this has the ability to do this. So if I touch my nose and touch my ears, I will bring about, let's just say, a very specific positive experience, and there will be a sign when I do that. When I do that every single time, there will be a very meaningful and powerful sign, and there will be times where I just feel the intuition to do that. So this is an example of how this can work. So every time I do this, I will look around and there will be something that gives me deep meaning. So what happens when you do that, for example, is that when you program that idea into your subconscious mind, and every time you touch your nose and touch your ear, you have that trigger that triggers in your subconscious mind, and then you have that belief that something has come about, or let's just say you're going to feel a specific way. Whenever you touch your nose and you touch your third eye place here between your eyebrow, then you're going to have a very focused state of peace. And every time you do that, you're going to create a magnetic wave of peace inside of you. So what happens is that you create a specific button that when you press that button, it triggers that thought and that belief in the subconscious mind, and therefore it creates that effect because you believe it. So because there's all these different ways and all these different styles of doing this one thing, it's like, well, which one's the right way? Well, it just so happens the one that means the most to you is actually the right way. So the one that you decide to program your subconscious mind with is the right way. It's kind of like a computer, right? A keyboard. You got a keyboard and you're like, okay, well, if you go to different places around the world, the keyboard's different. So which one's the right one? The one that's the right one is the one that works for you, the one that you learn, the one that you find out how to play, the one that you find how to type. And it's the same thing with the subconscious mind. So as far as the crystals goes, coming right back to it, is that when you have that specific intention to program a specific meaning and thought and belief into a specific crystal, you not only would potentially program that crystal with that specific memory, but you also create that trigger in the subconscious mind for that to happen. So it has that kind of twofold effect. And so that's why it can become a really powerful tool. And then when you combine that with the different chakras that you have in your body, which are vortices of energy, and so when you combine that specific meaning to each specific chakra has a specific meaning and effect and intention, and that specific crystal also has that same connection, then it just becomes a more profound button in your subconscious mind that you can trigger at the speed of intention, at the speed of thought. And so that's why crystals can be very meaningful, but at the same time they're again extremely necessary to our modern world, because without those crystals our computers would not work. So that's why I think crystals can create that element of harmony when we really have those intentions and we create those triggers and we put them in our homes, and we have that specific intention of programming with a specific belief and a specific thought, a specific frequency. Then those crystals will, every time we see them, every time we feel them, every time we wear them, they will create those triggers in our subconscious mind, therefore creating that reality, creating that experience. So really interesting, because again, those two things that really are profound is the fact that they can create that memory, and the fact that they can trigger things in your subconscious mind that you programmed specifically for that crystal and the meaning that you gave for that crystal. So I hope this video helped, And I thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a miraculous day. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.